What's the worst thing a landlord ever did that made you move out immediately? Our upstairs neighbor's bathtub had been leaking into our bedroom ceiling for weeks, creating black mold everywhere. When I called our landlord, he said, "A little mold never ended anyone," and hung up on me. It started small, just a few water stains on the ceiling above my daughter's bed. I called the landlord's office 3 times that first week, but got sent to voicemail every time. When I finally reached him, he said he'd look into it, but nothing happened. The stains grew bigger and darker. I moved my daughter's bed to the other side of the room, but then the ceiling started dripping. I put buckets out to catch the water and called again. This time his secretary said he was too busy with more important repairs, and that a little water damage wasn't an emergency. 3 weeks later, I could smell the mold. It was that musty, sick smell that hits you the moment you walk into the room. I took photos and sent them in a text message with urgent, mold growing as the subject. He texted back, "It's just discoloration. Open a window." My daughter started coughing at night. She'd wake up around 2 a.m. every night with these dry, hacking coughs that wouldn't stop. I thought it was just a cold going around at school. The ceiling began sagging. Actual chunks of moldy drywall were falling onto her bed. I called the landlord's emergency line at 6 a.m. "Unless the building is on fire, don't call this number," he snapped. "There's black mold falling on my child's bed. Never call here again," he said, and hung up on me. That same day, my daughter came home from school barely able to breathe. She was wheezing so badly I could hear it from across the room. I grabbed my keys and rushed her to the ER. In the car, she kept saying, "Mommy, I can't breathe," between gasps. I was doing 80 in a 45 zone. At the hospital, they immediately put her on oxygen. The triage nurse took one look at her and called for a doctor. Within minutes, she was hooked up to machines and breathing treatments. The ER doctor asked about environmental triggers. I showed him the photos of our moldy ceiling on my phone. His face went from concern to furious. "This is criminal negligence," he said. "Black mold can be fatal for asthmatics, and your daughter's developing severe reactive airway disease." He explained that prolonged exposure had basically given her asthma. Her lungs were inflamed and hypersensitive now. She might need an inhaler for years. The doctor wrote a detailed report linking her respiratory attack directly to the mold exposure. He also ordered chest x-rays and blood work to document the damage. We spent 6 hours in the ER. They had to give her 3 different breathing treatments before her oxygen levels stabilized. The whole time, I'm thinking about my landlord's smug voice saying mold never ended anyone. The medical bills came to $2,000 for that one night. My insurance covered most of it, but we still owed $600 out of pocket. Plus, she now needed a daily inhaler that cost $89 a month. The next morning, I walked into my landlord's office with the medical bills, the doctor's report, and a folder full of photos documenting 3 weeks of ignored complaints. "Remember when you said mold never ended anyone?" I slammed the papers on his desk. "Tell that to my daughter's pulmonologist." His smug expression disappeared instantly. He actually leaned back in his chair like I'd physically struck him. "Look, I can have someone look at it this week. Too late. You had 3 weeks to fix this and chose to ignore it. My daughter almost passed away last night." I pulled out my phone and showed him the email I'd sent to the city health department that morning, complete with photos, medical records, and a timeline of his ignored phone calls. "They're opening an investigation into all your properties. Every tenant deserves to know what kind of landlord you really are." His face went pale. "Now wait a minute. Let's not get the city involved." "Oh, but we already are." I also contacted the local news station. They're very interested in landlords who think mold exposure is no big deal. I stood up and leaned over his desk. "You have 24 hours to fix our apartment completely. New ceiling, professional mold remediation, the works, and you're paying every penny of my daughter's medical bills. Or what? Or I press charges for child endangerment and sue you for everything you're worth." Within 24 hours, he was begging me not to involve lawyers. He called my cell phone 6 times that day, each call more desperate than the last. He paid our medical bills, covered our $1,200 moving cost to get us out immediately, and returned our full $1,500 security deposit. He also paid for 3 months of my daughter's inhaler prescription.